I'm just a little Portland gutter punk goblin girl, and at the core of who I am is like resisting people telling me who the fuck I am supposed to be and what the fuck I can do. And that's why I gravitate towards this so much, because it's subversive.
I love this woman. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the 10th of November 2024. I'm Nicholas Tanek. This is your kinky friends. I do want to say before we begin, this is consensual. Everything we talk about, we are consensual. We're talking about consensual acts amongst consenting adults. This is not for children. It's not made for children. It's not meant to be played for children. It's for adults. This is a culture. This is a lifestyle. We're good people. We're consenting good people. We may not have your taste, but we're good people. We pay our taxes. We don't commit crimes. We just like to have sex in cool, kinky ways. And we have we're cool, we're kind, we have an open mind. Don't judge. And with that being said, please, bow down, be prepared, and show respect. Show respect. You're in for a treat tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And whoever or whatever you identify as, please welcome the magnificent Nova Starlust. How are you doing?
Hi. I'm so happy to be on the show. It's so fun and so needed. So yeah,
so we're gonna kick it off like normal. My normal question.
Okay.
What's inspiring you these days?
A lot of things. Definitely I get a lot of inspiration from just talking to people, seeking out art forms, sometimes reading, but really just a lot of what I get inspired by is the feelings that people want to get out of them. And then I take those feelings and I go, okay, what things can I do in order to draw out those feelings, maybe with some resistance, maybe not. That and a lot of, weird enough, I'm a bit of a weeb, so a lot of anime.
I get it. I love that.
There's some really interesting elements to it where that, they have really cool weapons, they have really cool powers, things like that. And I think that those elements you can mix and spin into role plays. You can mix and spin them into just regular scenes too.
So the important question, because this is a show about important questions, hitting the hard issues. What is about not wearing pants that you like so much?
I'm so happy that you are asking this, because for the longest time, I'm gonna
take you off screen, but just so you could answer this clearly, so I can take myself off and put myself back. But you're broad.
Okay. Pants are the enemy of all that is freedom. They're restraining. They're too containing, restricting. I don't like it. I can't have easy access to things that I want if there are pants that I have to finagle with. I have to pull them down. I have to get them off ankles. All this, it's such a pain in the ass. So I just want there to be freedom of movement, freedom of access to things. So,
all right.
And I just joke a lot about starting a cult, and one of the only rules is that we just can't allow pants. Anything else I'm totally fine with, but pants.
So
just can't do
it. The pantless cult.
Yes.
The sisterhood of the pantless, the traveling pantless, or what I can't. A pantless cult. Okay. Yes. All right. So you said, these are your words, I am sensual, seductive, and sadistic.
Yes.
All right. So what's an example of
that? What I really enjoy and what I grew up with was the archetype of the femme fatale. My first crush and also, oh, I want to be that was Jessica Rabbit and then Elvira.
Oh,
But
yeah.
when I saw characterizations of this, I'm thinking, you know, that's very sensual in the movements, very seductive in her mannerisms and her speech and it seems very intentional as well. But using those elements of hyper femininity to manipulate and draw out things within people that maybe they didn't know were there, that then you can use to make them see parts of themselves that can be rather painful and needed, and then it can be really fun too. But when I think sadism in that way, I'm not thinking of physical sadism, I'm thinking mentally.
Oh, yes.
So
We're going to get into sadism.
mixing all of these elements together to like, again, I really like playing with emotions. I am a bit more of an emotional sadist than I am like a physical sadist, even though I love that too. But I think it's really important, especially when you are exploring these parts of yourself, to expect when you're approaching someone like me, there are going to be really dark elements of yourself that you have been repressing, and I'm there to bring them out of you to face. And that transformation, that acceptance of yourself, can be painful.
You're talking about being an emotional sadist. Stan Vladimir says, "Greetings, Nova Starlust. What are your top 5 favorite animes of all time?"
Oh my gosh, of all time. That's a difficult one, but I will say probably JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm a little obsessed with that one, and you can see that in like memes that I make of my porn. I'm gonna say Naruto because I grew up with that. I followed it for so long that it's one of those things where you're either really into One Piece or you're really into Naruto. If you were, you know, if you've been a anime fan for a really long time, I feel like there's kind of those two camps. I'm definitely a Naruto camp. And then a lot of the other anime I like are kind of cult animes. So like Vampire Hunter D. Let's see. I really liked Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. That was really cool. And then oh my gosh, there's so many good ones. I've been watching, like I watched Jujutsu Kaisen. That was really fun. It's hard to give like a top 5 like that because I enjoy so many. And so many inspired or influenced me as well. Yeah. Let's see. I'll name one more. I don't know. Never mind.
I'll name one more. I don't. You're talking about
no. That's all you get. That's all you get.
Yeah, they always leave them wanting more. We're talking about emotional sadism, so I'm thinking, you know, and even in your bio, it says that you like to bully a little bit, stuff like that. So do you get joy at putting down a sub? Like a thirsty sub comes up to you. Nova Stardust, I'll be your slave. Can I be your living slave? Can I be your 24/7 slave? Please, 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 please. I'll do anything. I'll do anything. You know, what's the best way to shoot them down, to put them down?
It really depends. Are we talking like consensually or not? Because if someone is approaching
Like
me
both,
in a way where I'm not consenting to this like dynamic and they're making a lot of assumptions about me as if I'm a fetish dispenser, then I really have no qualms about being that bitch, I guess. So if it is in that manner, if you're treating me as if, you know, I'm not a person with my own wants and needs and you're trying to have a constructive, you know, level of respect, the best way I found is just saying, who are you and why should I fucking care?
Yeah. That's great. Who are you? Why should I?
Who the fuck are you? And why should I care about what you want? Like,
so good.
Now, as far as if it's like a fun dynamic that we're having, and this is like a fun little back and forth, It depends on the sub. It depends on what type of dynamic you have. It depends on, what the rules are, right? But I find that if they're really needy, right? More denial, just more denial is just, and teasing is just my favorite thing ever. Oh, I love it.
One of the things that you said, you're a hentai antagonist incarnate.
Yes. So
Please explain what this is.
for a long time, I really wanted to try and embody the typical femme fatale, like black leather, latex, dominatrix kind of look, because I saw a lot of that in my community, in the people that I really enjoyed, and I just didn't vibe with it. I've said this before, and I'll just like, come out and let you know too. Like, I am neurodivergent. I have ADHD, a little bit on that, autism spectrum disorder. And so I am just really into what I'm really into. I've always had a hard time kind of fitting into the norm, even in these subcultures. So I decided, fuck it, I'm just going to do what I really enjoy and embody what I really embody, and the things that I look at as really controlling, creepy, uh like, eldritch horror type things, and I want to embody that. So as a hentai antagonist, you think a lot about the girls, like the futanari girls that are demons. You think about tentacle monsters, things like that. And so I do incorporate some of that into my art because it's fun. It's so fun.
Speaking of tentacle monsters, I'm going to go off on a
Yes.
tangent, as I always do. Uh, my very good friend Nico Noir, who had a birthday. Shout out to Nico Noir. She cannot make it to the Sunday show today, but hey, if you're around today at 8 p.m., we're having a Sunday YKF Sundays. You're more than welcome to come. Anyway, but yeah, tentacle porn, and a lot recently. There's a lot of like dildos that have eggs, and there's the narrative of being impregnated by aliens and stuff like that. So, do you do any kind of tentacle play, alien play, abduction, and stuff like that?
Oh, absolutely. I've been wanting to do even more of it because there's been such a good reception to it. I had a lot of, unfortunately, subs that would tell me, oh, I would never jerk off to something like that. So I kind of held back on it. And then eventually I was like, you know what? You're dumb and you don't know what you're talking about. And I would jerk off to this. So I started making it. I have a couple of collaborative videos that I made, one where I'm a demon, and I don't know like what language is allowed on this, so I'll try to keep it, but I take a priest into my lair, and then I impregnate him after tormenting him for a long time with a giant tentacle. And then I also did a girl video with a really good friend in New York, where I have an ovipositor, which is what you're talking about, where it's the dildo that lays the eggs. And we did a really fun scene around that. A lot of it has these elements of demon possession and stuff, because I don't know, I just really like messing with occult horror, and like religious play kind of stuff like that.
Yes, me too. Wolfie T says, "We," whoever Wolfie T is.
That is one of my subs.
Ooh, so how many subs do you have, Starlust?
So personal. I've had a long-standing dynamic with my puppy for almost 5 years now. We've been play partners for a very long time, and we've had, I would say, shifting dynamic, right? Because as you grow together, dynamic, wants, needs, things like that shift as we grow as people. So I can't say it's been this linear thing. And then Wolfie, actually, I met earlier this year. We were mutuals online, and then we met in our local community a few times, and then we just started hanging out as friends, and then kind of escalated from there. Because I really like turning them into a dolly. I love dollification stuff, and like they're also into things like that. So it's it was fun. And then I have one more, but I'm not going to be divulging too much about that. It's more of a long distance thing, and for their privacy, I won't be getting into that. But yeah.
And part of
been
the
a couple
fun
years.
of kink is secrecy. Part of the fun of kink, it's your own. Keep it your own sometimes. Nothing wrong with that. That makes it cooler.
But that one's been going on like 3 years or so.
Speaking of dollification, before we get back to the interview, I don't know if you know anything about this, but there's like an underground crew of men with money who want to make human dolls out of women. You know, it's like a lot of. Have you encountered any of these men?
I have not.
Make a human doll?
Not personally. I have heard of it. I'm more into like the kigurumi kind of stuff, where like you have the plastic masks and like the fetish wear things like that.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It is. It's an art form.
You should check out this book. She's going to be on the show. She was on our show. Shout out to Elizabeth Kendrick. She talks about all that stuff in Japan. She went to Japan, became a sex slave to a dominatrix, and it gets intense. Let's just put it that way. Check it out. Exodite, good book. I love having writers on the show. So if you're writing, Nova, are you writing? If you're writing, write a book. Come on my show and promote it. It'd be great.
Okay.
All right. Let's get
actually have been thinking about that coming up this year, because I have been working on creating more classes to teach, but I also write for little blogs, and I'm told, you know, on my website, people are like, yeah, that was really helpful. It was very clear and concise. And I sometimes have a hard time understanding what other people write. And I take more of a Hemingway approach without the rampant alcoholism. So
Hemingway. Yes. Real quick before we continue again, get 15% off all inventory at Lock and Lust. Get advice. If you're going to start, go plastic or whatever. I prefer metal. As Chastity Queen says, the best chastity device is the one that fits. All right. Let's go. So, I definitely want to we got so much so much area to cover. Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
How would you describe the kink scene in Portland, Oregon?
It depends on who you ask. For me personally, I would say it's pretty big now. It used to be way smaller, way more exclusive, clicky. It's still kind of clicky depending on, where you go, but it's definitely opened up a lot more, especially after 2020. And for obvious reasons, people having a lot of time to themselves and discovering themselves now are wanting to go out into the world and start talking to other people that they can connect with on that level. But I would say, just like any other community, there's amazing good parts about it. There's some shady actors that, we as a community try really, really hard to keep out. There's, I'd say, a bit more access to education and events than other cities I've been to, though, which I really appreciate.
The dream of the 90s is alive in Portland, according to Portlandia, Fred Armisen, Harry Brownstein. I love the show. I love comedy. I seriously do. I love comedy. I'm a fan of Fred Armisen and Sleater Kinney, with Carrie Brownstein. So, as someone I asked this to everybody who's out there, and shout out to Natasha Strange from Portland.
Yes,
I love Natasha Strange. What a wonderful woman! Oh my god, seriously, I want her to hypnotize me. I think she hypnotized me on my show. What an awesome, beautiful woman.
I am very, very lucky to have learned from her for so long, and she has granted me so many opportunities in my career that I definitely am very grateful for her in our community. And also owning Sub Rosa, which is a dungeon that I work out of, and I've taught out of, and all sorts of stuff. And I started out volunteering for a lot of her and Mr. Spiola's, her business partners, like events, things like that, and classes, and taking those classes. And that's sort of how I got more integrated into female dominance aspect of that community.
Mm-hmm. That whole Sub Rosa crew is inspiring. When I was sick, I had a transplant, so I'm in and out of the hospital. For especially in recovery, I'm having hallucinations galore. You know, there are people I've met so many people on this show, so like I'm hanging out with them in my hotel room.
Oof.
You know, in my mind. And Natasha was like, she's like almost like a spirit, like a pixie or something that just comes in and just enlightens everybody, inspires everybody, just flies away. That's what like she's got this magic to her, which is amazing. So Portlandia,
She's definitely mommy.
What's your opinion of the show Portlandia? You being from Portland.
So I have mixed feelings. I think that there's some really I like the comedy. There's some really good aspects of it. I don't like that whenever I tell someone not from Portland that I'm from Portland, that's the first thing they think of because
Yep.
okay, don't get me wrong. They nailed it on the head with a lot of the stereotypes. There are a lot of people that blame that show for an influx of people moving there after 2008, which I'm like, I think it's a bit more nuanced than that. But yeah, that I would not say that that's the culture of here anymore at all. Especially after so many people coming into the city and it, evolving and changing with new ideas and new perspectives and new art and things like that. There are some elements still left, but I think that really comes down to a lot of us that are just kind of diehard, won't let those aspects go. So I would say as far as the show, though, it's good, but it's definitely had a weird impact on the city and its culture too.
Well, shout out to the Dandy Warhols. I'm a fan of theirs. They got a good album. They're from Portland. Yeah. Activism. Now, I don't want to get on a soapbox. I want to make this a very positive show. But you're an activist, and I consider myself an activist too. We're doing something. You know what I mean? So let me just ask straight up. What's your current attitude? You don't have to do it, but just like if you're going to sum it up in like a word or a phrase, what's your current attitude of the political state of the world?
Fucked. If I had to have one word, I mean, yeah. I'm a really big fan of history and like particularly weird enough, like war culture history type stuff. I don't know what the hyperfixation was, but for some reason 16th century Japanese warlords was what my brain decided to hyperfixate on a long time, and then that spiraled into like different world wars, things like that. But just in general, the things that are happening have happened before. It's pretty parallel with a lot of things that we've seen. If you look up what happened in 2020 with what happened in 1919 in the San Francisco Bay specifically, with the Black Plague coming in, immigrants, things like that, you will see almost a mirror to mirror of the events that happened in 2020 nationally, which is really, really weird. But at the same time, I mean, we're seeing a rise in like authoritarian ideals because as soon as economic standards go down, we see a rise in crime because people are trying to survive, and then you see people wanting to fight back against that. You see people wanting a sense of control but not having any real power to take control. So they turn to more authoritarian, like cults of personality to guide them. And those people are often not good actors.
As a kinky person, someone in the kink community, and I can see it. I see you, Nova. You love the community. You have love for the community. You do. You genuine love for it. It shines in everything you do. Every time you peg someone, I'm like, that person loves the kink community.
I love what I do. I love the people around me. And it's just.
So what can we do? Let's seriously, like, we've had some time. Mm-hmm. What's the next step? Like, as a kinky person, a fellow person in the kink community, what can we do?
I've actually seen this, and I think this goes beyond just the kink community, but it like even with kink community, start talking to the people next to you. Start talking to your neighbors more. Start talking to the people in your local community. Because we are all kind of chronically online, whether we realize it or not. And we lose touch of the humanity in each other and the nuance of people when we don't have a face-to-face, when we don't have that like connection physically in a present in a way.
Yeah.
And I know it sucks and it's hard for a lot of people, and in no matter where you're at, sometimes there's lack of access of that, right? But really trying to develop those bonds with the people next to you is so important right now, because that's how you find deeper connection. That's how you find the humanity in each other, and people see the humanity in you and don't see you as a perverted fucking monster, you know? Like they're like, oh, but that person was volunteering at the soup kitchen last week, you know, and then I saw them pegging someone online. You know, it lends nuance to humans, which is what we need. Most definitely.
What I think we can do is continue.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, continue. Don't let they're not going to stop us from being kinky. They're not going to stop us from being ourselves. Simple as that. We have we have to live. So the kink community, for the most part, at least the ones that I know represent, we're good people. We're law-abiding. We pay our taxes. We're law-abiding. We believe in consent, right? And we're adults.
Yep.
We're adults who play with other adults. We're only adults.
I will say,
so
as a professional, the amount of people that you would not think are curious about kink or wanting to explore or do explore it are your next door neighbors, are people that you would not put into your face, are not someone that outwardly looks like me, who's like a little bit cartoonish, you know. I mean, obviously I am, because I've always been a freak, but but you know, a lot of the people that are into these things, they're just everyday. They're just your neighbors. They're your pastors. Literally, I've talked to many people in churches. They're law enforcement. They're people in positions of power. They're people that are just going to the gas station to work, you know, and try to make a living and trying to make their lives better. It's just, you know, we're all just humans, and we're just trying to figure ourselves out.
I thought this, that like I see all this is gonna sound really weird, but I see all these like these old white guys now in power. Like you see it across the board, like they have wives, you know, and like I'm sure their wives want happiness, want to feel fulfilled, you know, are possibly missing something maybe in their lives, in the romance department. And you know, like, and I just think like you want to. That's what you chose, okay. All right.
I've talked to a lot of women as well.
That's what's funny. Did you hear this new thing about the MAGA tax? All the DOMs, a lot of the DOMs I know, they're taxing. Like they're like, okay, you want to be a racist, a homophobe, or an anti-Semite? Well, my rates went up 3 times. You own it. Own it. This is a capitalist society. Own your. Like seriously, this is.
I mean, that's been going on for a long time. Anytime anyone brings up anything like that, I mean, I know I certainly, if you're going to be a difficult person and you're going to make my life difficult, then I'm going to charge you more. I may not tell you that that's what I'm doing, but
big, strong. You're a big, strong man. You're so powerful. You know makes you so powerful? Money. Your money in my pocket makes you. You know, you're so powerful. All right. So a big thing about the sex community, the transgender community, the kink community, everything like that, you know, they're saying that there's a lot of sex trafficking going on. I've talked to people all around the world. I'm against sex trafficking. Your YKF is totally against anything that's non-consensual.
Yep.
I'm sure it does exist. It does exist. How can people, us as a kink community, help prevent? It says help stop. Yeah. help prevent or stop sex trafficking? What can we do? What's our part? You did a class and an article about this.
I did, and this is something that I've been volunteering. I volunteered in domestic violence shelters. I volunteered with sex trafficking organizations. I have attended my city councils and um, talked to people who have direct access to law enforcement. I don't want to deal with that myself, but I will talk to other people that can pass along these messages of the first thing we need to do is educate the consent. What is consent? Because sex trafficking is much, much different than sex work.
Yes.
Trafficking is illegal. It is a federal crime. Sex work is just like any other job you would take, you are making the decision, hopefully informed on the details of that job before you go into it and do it. Not everyone is informed on what they're doing and then they feel bamboozled. But I say that about, oh my God, I say that about working at, like the last normie job I had was at PetSmart, right? And I worked my way up to management. They didn't tell me all the details of what I would have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was significantly underpaid for it. I was sexually harassed at work consistently. Like, there's nowhere in the world that you are going to be doing a job working with the public where you're not going to be having issues with people that, I don't know, like a Karen is a perfect example, right? Some people just are not happy with anything. Like anytime you're working with the public, there's going to be issues that come up. But okay, I'm getting off track here. Sorry.
Sex trafficking. We got to stop.
Yes.
You and I have to stop sex
We need
trafficking.
to definitely need to educate on what consent is and the difference between what trafficking is and what consensual sex work is, because there are a lot of people who will refuse to believe that women are autonomous and can make their own decisions for themselves, like myself, right? There are women who believe I am a trafficking victim and a slave to men's desires and things because I receive money for kicking men in the balls.
Yeah, you're forced to kick men in the balls.
I am. Please help me. I'm such a damsel in distress.
Look, blink 3 times if you need.
It really shows that they have this very narrow-minded perspective of what sex work is.
Where do motherfuckers get the privilege?
People that are doing it, which they know people who do sex work, but the difference is those people will never tell them that they do sex work because they have already made up their mind you're not a safe person to talk to about it. Almost everybody will have known a sex worker in their life. But the thing is, you're not going to know it because they've already made up their mind that you're not safe to tell.
Okay. Facts. We got a lot of the important things out of the way.
Yeah, as far as, but keeping going with the sex trafficking thing too, a lot of it also, talk to your neighbors, talk to people in your community. If you know those people, you know their children, you know those things, those kids are safer because they have more eyes on them, more accountability through those parents. So I go towards that because according to DOJ and like Health and Human Services, I went in this deep dive in 2020 when people were screaming, save the children. A lot of sex trafficking are families addicted to opiates, like pimping out their children.
Really?
Okay. And so it is really imperative if we want to help our communities to have eyes in our community, to have access and this building up of support and visibility, right? We need to stop being so hyper individualistic and be like, no, I need to know these people so that if something happens, we can be there for each other.
I need to say this too. anyone out there who's struggling with opium addiction, heroin addiction, fentanyl addiction, it feels hopeless. It feels so hopeless. There's no hope at all. No hope for the future. Nothing. There's no world's better off without you. It feels like that. You're wrong. You can get over it. I did. I did enough drugs to do 3 lifetimes. I need a liver transplant, and I got off heroin at the same time. If I can do this, seriously, you can too. Don't give up. I know you want to. Just please don't. For me, as a friend, I'm asking you as a favor. Right?
But also, I mean, the fact that you feel so deeply means that we need more people with that empathy like you in the world. So
it's a horrible world. It's a spiral that, and it affects everybody, but
it's harsh, but there's also beauty in it.
I get it too,
that you have to look at.
Yeah, and the feeling that, I mean, I love drugs. Seriously, drugs open my mind. Like, there's feelings that I never would experience without them. People that I've never would have met without them. I've had horrible things happen to me because of drugs too, but I've had good things too. It's a balance for me, but I don't do them anymore. I learned a lot. So please learn from me. Learn from me. I've been through hell and back. I'm here, So we got the important not the horrible stuff. We got the important stuff now.
Yeah.
The activism, the Portland, the you not wearing pants, the big issues.
Yes. Especially pants.
Let's have some fun. You said I am a sick bitch with a heart of gold. How do you maintain such balance?
It is a fine line. No. So a lot of what I do is, I had to radically accept about myself at a young age that I love doing horrible things to people because it does things that give me the warm tinglies all over my body and in my heart. And I felt like an absolute monster because of it for a very long time. And so in order to balance that, I figured out things that I could do that made other people feel good too. Right. The opposite of those things. So it was finding a balance between doing horrible things and then doing, more altruistic things, I guess, like my activism, or, just, helping out people, just giving compliments to people, just, making people feel good is pretty free. I know it's weird being like, oh, you're a bully, you're a bitch, all this stuff. And yeah, I am, but I also care deeply. So I'm going to sometimes go out of my way just to look at someone and be like, they look like they're kind of having a struggle day or something. I'm going to say something nice because I don't know if that's going to make a difference or not. Because I've definitely been in that position where I wish someone looked at me and was like, hey, instead of, hey, are you all right? Just, hey, I see you, and you know what? I like this about you.
Also, it's like a don't judge a book by its cover. In the scene, the Kink community, we're human beings. I know people. Nico Noir, one of my best friends. Seriously, she's in Texas. She'll wake up in the morning, shit on someone's mouth, and in the afternoon give someone a mangina. But seriously, she's the nicest person you'll ever meet. She's like, seriously, the cats lives in the Depeche Mode, cooking. She's a great chef. She's the happy, lucky, she's good-hearted, everything like that. But she will shit in someone's mouth, and she will make a mangina in the afternoon. All her day's work. You know what I mean? So let's talk
in my soul.
Yeah. So let me ask you this.
Okay. Oh, you're bringing up my Twitter feed.
How does it feel to have a cock?
It feels fun. I don't know how to, a lot of people say it's empowering. For me, it just feels like an extension of who I am. It just feels like another way that I can express what I already am. In that way, it's a tool in that way, just like having parts of my own body. Those are just aspects of who I already am. This one is just detachable and I can change it out depending on my mood or the person, you know. I would say, I don't know. I see a lot of my kink experiences as more fun than this stoic, serious, like, experience. I don't know. It's
You mean
for me,
there's
if
not
you're
like
not having fun,
meaning?
yeah.
There's
If you're
not
not
like
having
meaning
fun,
behind the cock? There's not like symbolism between every vein that's in it?
no, not really. No, the
No.
symbolism is like, hey, I think I'm gonna make you suck it.
All right, you have this awesome picture on Twitter. I don't know if I can show it. I'm gonna try. Fuck it. I'll show it for a second. This
Okay.
guy. Oh, yeah. Okay, I can't show the penis, but you know. But yeah, this is right here. This guy is restrained. Anyone on Twitter, go to Twitter right now. Nova Starlust, you can see it. So when I was a teenager, before I even like knew what puberty was, I used to make homemade straitjackets out of raincoats and belts.
I love that.
I tie myself up and like I walk the perimeter to make sure I can be found out what I'm doing. Right? And I write about it in my book. Your Kink. I mean, no, in the book Chip Black Nail Polish. I wrote a book called Chip Black Nail Polish. Read it. Read a book, everybody. And yeah, I'd be on the ground and I couldn't get out. I'd lock myself in, couldn't get out, and that would, something weird would happen to my body, and all of a sudden, I thought I broke myself. It turns out I came all over. You know? I did. I thought I broke myself.
Like, can I just add a PSA? Like, please have a spotter if you're doing things like that.
Oh God, yeah.
I have a ridiculous story about that when I worked at a porn store. If you want to hear that sometime, but
I do.
Please have a spotter. Yeah.
I want to tell that story, but what I'm saying is throughout time, I've learned to love restraints. I learned to love, as someone who loves the whole sissification narrative, right? And the femdom stuff, corsets, garter belts, stockings, the whole thing. It's restraining. It's not for me at least. It's not necessarily the gender aspect thing of it. It's really the restraining aspect. So I get when I see this.
That's interesting.
Holy moly. I was like, this is art. So what I wanted to, let's start from the beginning. When restraining someone like that,
okay,
the whole body, mummified, head to toe,
mm-hmm.
Where do you start?
Typically, I start with the upper body, arms, or hands, because to me, it's symbolic of like a loss of control, because as humans, we rely so much on our hands and the mobility of being able to stop ourselves, grab things, touch, feel. So it's a loss of control in that aspect. Also, if you're laying someone down, it's a lot easier to have them wrapped up upper body and then have their legs and things free so that they can help kind of get themselves up. Not all of us are a muscle mommy, like, I mean, I am, but not all varying audiences. Not everyone is a muscle mommy that can just like grab a 165-pound man and like put him on something. It's that's where I start those, usually hands and then upper body, just because, or
So
wrists, because it is like this loss of control symbolism.
You were going to tell a story about some self-restraint mishap or something in a porn store?
Yeah, so I worked at an adult video store for...
Tell this.
Okay, so I worked at an adult video store for about 5 years, and I know that's insane because the turnover is like 6 months. While I was working there, I worked mornings, and I would come in the morning. I would, go in the back of the store, and it's called an arcade. And an arcade is, for those who don't know, it's where they have these little booths that you can go in. There's a machine that you put money into, and then it starts playing porn on a little TV. There's like benches or chairs there. You do your whatever thing. And then once the movie's over, then you either put more money in or you get the fuck out. I'm coming in after the night shift. My friend Lucky is working there, and he is the epitome of what you think of just burnout gutter punk, right? I love him so much. He is amazing. I walk in.
E.G. Allen-esque?
Oh, more hair, a little better looking.
Oh, okay.
I'm hoping the package is a little bigger too. But anyway, so
Smells better.
Yeah. So I put my coffee down, I'm like, hey, is anyone here? And he's like, no, I don't think so. I turn the stereo down and then I hear help, help. And I'm like, oh God, that could mean anything being in the store. So I'm like, okay, I think someone's back there. I grab a flashlight. I go back there because it's very dark. And I'm looking in all the booths and I hear help, I'm stuck. Which is even worse to me because that could mean literally anything at this point. We have glory holes in there, and I'm
stuck in a porn booth I'm stuck in a booth at a porn store.
I'm like, what do you mean stuck? Stuck how? Are you stuck in a person? Are you stuck in a glory hole? Are you stuck in like what do you mean stuck? You know what I mean? So I finally find this guy and he's laying on the floor, and it's this older gentleman who is stripped of everything except for his boxer shorts. And he is blindfolded and he is restrained, his hands like this and his upper body, and there is a cord that was pulled out from the bottom of the machines through the wall and wrapped around his neck and his upper body, and the more he struggled, the more it would asphyxiate him, which was very dangerous. And
yeah.
So I start calling for Lucky. I'm like, Lucky, help. And he comes back there and he's like, oh dear God. So we're trying to find out where this cord is coming from, if we can just like, get him loose somehow without having to cut it. And the guy is like trying to move around, and it's making things worse. And we're like, hold still, hold still. Finally, we make the decision we're going to have to cut this cord because there's no way getting it out of this wall. And Lucky bends down and he's like, you're so lucky right now that I'm a nice person and that you did not die back here, because man, I would really hate for that to happen to someone like you. That's not okay. Things like that. I don't want anything bad to happen to you. And then he leans down while he's like cutting, this cord very close to his neck. And he's like, but I swear to God, if this is some sort of sick fuck fantasy, damsel in distress shit you're pulling me into unconsensually, I'm going to fucking cut you. And then the guy just, and he's like, shh, calm down. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Unless you're for real. And he's like, and I was like, just like, like trying not to laugh because it's a fucked up situation, but I am enjoying the fear part of it. And finally we get this guy let go, and Lucky's being really nice to him. He's like, hey man, I'm going to need your ID. You're not welcome back here anymore. I'm sorry. I hope you understand, blah, blah, blah. And then I just start going in on this guy. I was like, you dumb fuck, you need a spotter for rough play. What the fuck is wrong with you? You could have died on my shift and then my coffee would be cold and it'd all be your fault, you asshole. I get one thing coming into work and that's hot coffee, okay? And you almost fucking ruined that, you prick. Get a spotter. Don't come back on my shift. And he's just, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, you're not sorry enough. Like, he's like, man, you're mean. And I'm like, I was like, all I wanted before I started my shift was hot coffee and a cigarette, but no. But yeah,
fine tax. It's the new way to tax everybody.
All I'm saying is just have a spotter, okay? Just have a spotter, no matter how experienced you are.
Think this through. Anybody doing anything in the kink community, there are other people involved, and if you get hurt, they get hurt. They may not get physically hurt, but there's legal issues, there's emotional issues, there's psychological issues. You name it. Don't be so fucking selfish just to get off. You know what I mean?
Oregon is one of the only states with anti-BDSM laws, by the way, that mostly revolve around breath play, saying that you can't consent. Yeah, it's mostly, it has to do with what they consider strangulation, but in BDSM, we consider any manner of breath play, right? Because breath play is not just strangulation. It can be sitting on someone's face. It can be putting something over someone's airways, things like that. They're all risky. They're all dangerous activities. They have their risks with them. That's part of what makes it hot. But there are a lot of laws because of people screaming porn, strangulation, all this stuff. And I'm like, honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with influencers online making it seem like it's just some fun little joke to put your hands around someone's windpipe and crush it. Because people, and the worst thing is not death. The worst thing is you end up having a stroke 2 months later, not knowing it was because of breath play, and then you're paralyzed.
Yeah.
You know, or worse.
Oh.
Yeah.
What about charging for free coffee?
Charging for free coffees.
I don't know. All right. Stan Vladimir has the Stan question.
All right.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be, and how would you use it in your kinky life?
Oh, man. Oh, this is such a good question, and I feel like I am not prepared. Oh, there's so many. I mean, first comes to mind control, right? Because I want to be able to read someone's mind so I can then like just be able to everything you do or say, I already know. I'm already 10 steps ahead of you. You are toast. There's nothing you can do or say that is going to get you out of anything. You can't talk your way out of it. You can't move your way out of it. It's just, it's done. I'm in complete control. But I do think growing appendages would also be really rad because, I mean, come on.
Yeah,
if it's not obvious, why that one? Like more things to fit in things. So
that's a new one. Growing appendages. Grow a third arm. Okay. Yeah.
Grow tentacles.
All right. Let's.
You know?
Yeah. That lay eggs. Why not?
Yeah. Exactly.
Sissification. Sissification plays a huge role in BDSM community. Not everybody. I personally love the whole narrative. I understand it's role play. I'm locked in chastity now. I'm wearing garter belt stockings under all this. I live it not 24/7, but like we do what we can, and it's the weekend, so we had a lot of fun. We go to parties, Mischief Manor. Shout out to Mr. Shari. So we live it. Very proud. But it's not 24/7. You know, I don't know. Throughout the years, my attitude has changed from it. It's not just something to goon at. You know, most of my friends are women, right? So there's a whole the attitudes of like, I don't want to exploit anybody. I certainly don't want to put down womanhood or make anything, you know. So throughout the years, especially you being a sex worker, has your attitude towards sissification changed?
Not really, because I've never seen it as an act of putting women down. The way I've always approached it was, I'm taking away your manhood because it's important to you.
Yeah.
And like in some cases, it's even, no, you're not good enough to be a woman. You're not a woman. You're not a man. You're a sissy. But in a lot of cases, it's allowing people to let go of these stringent gender roles that they have around what masculinity is, what femininity is, things like that, and exploring where they fit into these things. What aspects of these stringent roles are actually important to them and actually matter, and what things are arbitrary and just made up, and it really doesn't matter to who they are as a person at their core.
Do you personally enjoy sissification?
I love it so much. Really? It was one of my very first I don't want to say like fetish, but one of my first kinks that I really got into. I've always loved watching drag, like RuPaul when I was growing up. My mom was super into RuPaul interviews, things like that. By the way, my parents, I grew up with like butch military lesbians that were in a polyamorous triad. So I did not have like a regular growing up experience as most people. So a lot of my concepts around these things, I haven't had to break down as much shame or different types of cultural like influences that other people might have had to. I just want to preface that with that. So having an alternative appearance, challenging what femininity looks like or acts like, and masculinity have always been an example to me since I was an infant. And so in that aspect, I love sissification, but also the juxtaposition of seeing like someone hyper masculine dressed in hyper femininity. That
Yes.
that just juxtaposition does it for me. It just makes me squish. And yeah, look, it is one of my first like kinks that I got into. I actually forced feminized my sister's boyfriend when we were in high school, because I was really, really mad at him. And she helped me. And I think both of us had an awakening during that. But
what did he do to get you so mad? And what now everyone's going to do that to their sisters?
Oh, if you do this, just know it's not going to be nice. So I am a gamer, and I've always been a gamer. I've always just been a nerd girl, right? So
Okay.
I spent my entire summer vacation playing Final Fantasy VIII on the PlayStation 1, and that's like a 4-disc game, right? And you have these little save card things that you put into the PlayStation, and it saves your game on it. It's not like this whole cloud system like we have now, right? And I'm like, I don't know how many younger viewers you have, so I'm trying to explain it to them if they're like, I don't know, this is ancient technology from 20 years ago. So I spent my entire summer vacation playing the shit out of this game, and it is a really long game. I mean, again, it is 4 discs long. Like, it's not just a game that you download. You have to put in different discs to get to different parts of the game. And I had gotten to the 3rd disc, right? I'm really close. I'm like 3/4 of the way there. I'm just having a good time. And me and him were always opposite. I'm like this little chubby goth girl, right? And he's like a 6'4" basketball jock, right? And we just butt heads about a lot of shit. You know, he's a teenage boy, I'm a teenage girl, and then he sees me playing this game, and we start connecting and we start having fun. And my sister's like, oh my God, you're friends now. I'm so happy. Yay. Like, I can have my boyfriend over more without you, trying to fist fight each other. So, I come home after hanging out with a friend, and he's sitting in my gaming chair, and he's like, oh my gosh, look at this. I printed off all of these cheats and all this stuff for your game. And I'm like, cool. Right on. He's like, yeah, I just figured I'd show you and everything. Oh, by the way, I got to this part of the game so that I could like do this card game in here, whatever. I don't know. But what he had done was he played a major arc in the game, a major story arc in the game, and saved over my last save. So I wasn't able to go back and replay that game.
That's not cool.
Yeah.
So you locked him in chastity and turned him into a sissy?
Oh, I wish I knew what chastity was at that point, but no. I jumped on him. I started like beating him up and restraining him, and then I was like, I'm gonna turn you into the little bitch you are. And I drug him to my room and sat on him and put makeup all over him, and then I was holding his legs down and telling my sister to paint his toenails, and just telling him that like everybody on his team is going to make fun of him for being a little bitch and all this stuff. And like, I was just like, I don't know what to do. I'm just like, I just knew I wanted to humiliate him. And that was what I knew how to do, was just, oh, I'm going to, I've seen in movies and things at that point. Oh, you take the little brother who's peeking on you, dress him up in girl shape, put makeup on him and stuff and make fun of him. So I was doing that. And then, my sister was laughing the whole time. She's like fucking up his nail polish. And so it was so hilarious. And I'm just like, have his legs held down, and I'm like straddling him. And then I feel him get excited. And I started getting excited because I was enjoying the being mean aspect of it, and I was like, oh God, what is happening right now? I think we both had this like awakening at that moment, but I just jumped off of him. I was like, get the fuck out of my room, get the fuck out of my room, you suck. Like my sister just laughing at him the whole time, like, look at you, ha, 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 and like trying to find like a disposable camera to take pictures of him and shit. And he's like, no, and like running and trying to wipe off this makeup and stuff, and like super embarrassed, like red face. It was so funny. But after that, I was like, I want to do more of that. And then I discovered that by talking to more of my friends about what I did, that there's actually people into it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
so the next step of that though, right?
Yeah.
Are tasks. So like you have sissies, or you know, what are some of your favorite sissy tasks? Now the typical ones are like, you drop somebody on the floor, you pick up, they're wearing a dress, you can see their body. All right. What are some personally, what are some favorite tasks to give to your sissy?
I feel like it really depends on who it is, right?
Oh yes, every sissy's different.
Yeah, everybody, and the way that they feel about it, their goal, things like that, right? I feel like I've had more experience with cross-dressers than actual sissies, just in general throughout my life, until I went more professional, right? And in that, I had to kind of learn what is your goal with this? So that really kind of determines what my tasks are. But I think to date, one of my favorite tasks was, and I told my friend Daddy Delilah to do this to her sissy Nikki, if you know who they are.
Yeah, Delilah, Nikki Graziano.
But it was feeding them a box of those Flint's mints that makes you drool uncontrollably. And then putting an O-ring gag in their mouth, and then having them mop and clean the floor by hand.
As it drips, because it keeps on dripping out. So it keeps on making it messy. So it's futile. It's like Sisyphus in The Rock. You know?
Exactly. Sisyphus.
Sisyphus. Oh, that's good. You and I, we should make it like a movie.
But yeah, that's been one of my favorites, just because it's this like futile task, right? Like no matter what you do, it's only going to keep getting worse. It's not going to, there's no winning. And like just kind of seeing the defeat really sink in to someone in that way is really funny to me. But also it also, you have someone on all fours, then at that point there's all sorts of things you could do at that point too. But also just seeing someone in that position where they know there's no getting out of it, that it's just going to keep going on and on and on, and they don't know when it's going to end, is something I enjoy about it.
Now the next steps, once you got them doing tasks and everything like that.
Yes.
The slut training. So
yes.
Slut. I'm going to take myself out because no one's looking at me. They want to look at you when you talk about slut training.
So slut training is not just relegated to sissies. It is most definitely most enjoyed by them, I find. But anybody can be a slut. Some people need a little training because they are really shy, or they just haven't had a lot of experience either sexually or being sexually open, right? So one of my favorite things to do is to almost transform someone into being this more reserved person, into the little slut inside that was already there and just needed to be brought out. And usually that starts, it depends on someone's experience level, but it can, let's say someone has like no experience outside of, I've had like one or two partners, like it's always been missionary lights off kind of situation. In that case, I'm going to go a little bit slower, and it's going to be like, okay, well, I want you to look at me wearing this strap on, and touching it and exploring it, so that you, in certain positions, so that you can like see and feel what it's like to be on a receiving end. And if it is someone who's typically been on a receiving end, usually they just want more of that. So we might take it up a notch from there. Yeah, a lot of like, okay, I need you to be able to pleasure someone else and take yourself out of it. I'm not here for you to focus on what you want and your pleasure at this moment. This is about you being almost an object and objectified and being a vessel for the pleasure of others.
And I think a lot of that helps, that kind of defining that attitude helps with chastity, right? So
yes.
you lock them up in chastity, right? Lock them up in chastity.
Most of the time, yeah.
Silicone or metal?
If you're a beginner, I'm actually a really big fan of the Kink 3D cages, like the Cobra and things like that. And they just came out with a newer one. So if you have intact foreskin, it's more enclosed, so it doesn't like get caught in the little areas. So I guess in that case, like plastic to start out until you figure out your sizing and things. And then when you're going more towards, if you're more into like permanent sort of stuff, more enclosed, metal is always really nice, especially because it gives that weight to it. There is like something to be said of like the psychological aspect of feeling the weight between your legs and understanding that, oh, I forgot it was there isn't as much of an option, because you are going to feel the differences in temperature more. You're going to feel the weight more. You're going to, have to be a little bit more aware that there's less flexibility to it. So if you do bang into something, it might cling a little bit, might make a little noise.
Oh yeah. I noticed I dropped my phone and I'm like clank. Oh yeah. Oh, what? My mom's like, "What's that?" Oh no.
Just drop something. Don't worry.
Yeah, just drop. So, is anyone locked right now?
Yes, they are. Oh, here we'll go like this. Here we go. So this Locktober and No Nut November has been very fun. And I actually started decorating my keys so that I could tell the difference between whose was what. So right now,
where the key goes.
Yeah, as far as like longer term, and by longer term I mean like more than a month, right? That's not just a temporary dynamic play. 3 people.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, if you don't mind, let's talk about these 3 amigos.
Okay.
So these 3 wise men, right?
Yes.
These 3 people, I'm sure all of them have a different style, right?
Very much so, yes.
Right. So how do you first? I'm sure there's the blanket evergreen like tasks, right? But I'm sure there's a different. You approach each one differently, right? So how did each one different? How do you tell them apart, so to speak?
Okay. So at the core of it, what I get from it and what I need them to understand about it is, for me, it's about denial. I am really like, denial is probably my favorite kink. It is what drives me in so much of what I do. I love it. And especially people that identify as like cisgender, heterosexual, and male. I love denying them even more, because most of the time they haven't been conditioned in a way where they've had to forego or sacrifice their pleasure in one aspect or another, right? So that makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm giving a little bit of justice in the world and closing that orgasm gap a little bit,
Closing the orgasm gap.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, that's why, like, that's why you need chastity, is to close that orgasm gap. And until that thing comes down, I don't want to hear any complaints. Now, as for like specific specific subs. It really does depend on like what they're into and the goal of it. So right now, Dolly, who was in the chat earlier, they're a pleaser. They're very much like, I want to do this because I know you like it, but also I have a goal in mind, and that goal is to be able to experience not having to use a penis to ejaculate. You know, some people, I'm not saying this is Dolly, but like, I find a lot of the people that also really enjoy it don't want to think about having to use their dick because it is some way causes anxiety, it causes frustration. There's just something about it that's just like, I don't want to think about it. Like, here you go. Not for everybody.
When you have someone locked in chastity, and I don't want to, let's just say we have a mutual friend that I was talking to them about chastity, and she's like, I don't know, I get kind of bored, you know, because she's the key holder. So because it does, if you would, what do you do as a key holder? How do you amuse yourself and others? While in the question it says Nisi, this was for, I used like cut and pasted this question. Nisi's another person who, not the person I'm talking about. This is someone else. But how do you amuse yourself and others when someone else is in chastity?
Oh, one of my favorite things is to like send little videos or photos of me taking their key and like threatening to throw it in the ocean or over an overpass, or just somewhere where it's not going to come back. It's not being recovered. Holding it up in front of a torch where maybe it's going to get melted down into something more useful. Things like that. Just fucking with someone's head in the way of like, I don't know, this chick might really actually do it. And I have bought decoy like keys that I have destroyed and sent videos of.
Wow.
So they're just like, oh, it's real. Oh, it's real. Oh, it's real. But for safety and because we all know consent can be revoked at any time for any reason, no questions asked. I will hold on to an actual key, but if that weren't the case, I probably would just melt it down and then make them cry a little bit and just be like, it's mine forever, ha ha ha, because it's fun. But
what's the longest time you had someone locked without release or orgasm?
Oh, how long was it? I want to say, okay, so this is actually Piggy here. 5 months. And the reason that they had to be released was because they had to take a test, a drug test where they were being watched. And so they had to take it off. And then there was an incident after that where it had been so long and they were very sensitive and pent up because I had been making them do a lot of things. I love edging. Also one of my favorite things. And so they just kind of involuntarily released after pulling their pants back up.
Oh, yeah. It's very sensitive.
Very. And so I counted that because it's me. I counted that as cheating. And so they have to go back in and start all over. And we were going to see if we can make it to 6 months. But I'm like, I'm going to count that as cheating. I'm sorry. I told you weren't being. And so we have to start all over.
Shout out to Chastity Queen. She a couple years, like 2 years ago, she's been on the show a bunch of times. She hasn't been on a while. Hope she's doing all right. But she went on Twitter when it was Twitter. It's a long ago. And basically said, how long should I keep my sub locked for? A like gets this amount of time, retweets get this amount of time, quoting gets this amount of time. You know, and I'm gonna end the countdown on Sunday, this date, whatever. 5.5 years. So he's gonna be locked for 5. She's gonna be locked for 5. Oh, you're all laughing. Happy dancing.
Yay.
All right, we gotta reach out, Chastity Queen. Reach out. Let's see if we
Yeah.
can come back on the show.
I mean, at that point, you might as well just make it 6 to make it an even number.
Yeah,
Just
right. And my favorite number is
round it up,
3. 6 is double 3. So
yeah. Yeah. It's
shame. Shame plays a major role in the kink community and culture, both the good and bad. Sometimes people get off on shame.
Yep.
Some people are some people get suicidal because of shame.
Yep.
You know, it's some people both at the same time. It's like it's a wild yin yang type of thing.
Yep.
So you and I are not shameful. We're, like I said before, we're good people. We don't break the law. We're decent people, right? But there's still shame from society, shame from like mothers, fathers, teachers, policemen, judges, white people on the internet in the microphone saying that you have to live a certain way or whatever. You know what I mean? How do you overcome shame?
So, like I said, because of my upbringing, I feel like I've been put in a very unique position to already have the tools to break down those things and question, is this something that I have been told to do out of control, or is this something that I've been exploring and searching and feel is the right decision for myself, right? Because I had those influences around me, because I had those people talking about, oh, I grew, my great grandmother, after I was adopted, she's a wonderful white lady, and she would tell me about, I mean, she educated me about the civil rights movement before I was even, learning about that in school, and about growing up with racism, things like that. And just, she was like, yeah, I had Black friends. I kissed, Black boys, things like that. And I got my ass beat for it. You know what? I would do it again, because I'm not ashamed to care about the people that I care about. As for breaking certain things down, I have definitely had to do that. And we will all still continuously have to do those things. It's a continuous work that we have to do, because as we discover ourselves on this journey, we're going to discover new parts of ourselves, and those new parts of ourselves might be a little scary to confront. And one of the best things to do in those situations, I find, is having a good support, and someone that you trust, that you can talk to about those things, so that you're not alone in them.
So humiliation was a part of shame as well.
Yeah.
There's a line in B.O.B. Cassidy. Sean Price, rest in peace, Sean Price. So someone should beat your ass and then record it too. So what are some new and interesting ways to humiliate people?
Oh my goodness, the list goes on. New and interesting. Oh my God. Goodness. Where do we even start? I'm like, my mind is reeling now. I'm like, oh goodness, do we like put someone on a stage and dress them as a prime minister and recreate that Black Mirror scene in front of a bunch of people? Do we write, hey, ask me about the sanguine arts, and then send them to a blood donation center? Do we, do we make them play a really great round of Call of Duty, and then go on the microphone and completely destroy their KDR, and then start saying, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry I let you all down. I don't deserve to. I don't know. Like, there's so many things.
So looking back through, culture.
Yeah.
You're a historian. And even pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
What was it been that who has been humiliated the worst in public?
Oh goodness. I mean, like, me being like, the very first thing that popped into my head without like even really thinking about it was Monica Lewinsky. just because the shame that she endured. And she had a really good TED talk on shame and breaking it down and being able to live after a situation where she was so nationally humiliated. And so I did watch that. It was really, really good. It was very compelling too. And it has a lot of good advice on moving past shame.
Now, I don't know if you want to answer this question.
Okay.
You don't have to, because this is a positive show. Who needs to be humiliated in public? Okay, don't answer. What is your opinion?
Yeah, I'm like, can we?
But okay, I'm gonna go forward there. But what is your, like I said before, and I am not condoning any of this. I'm about unity. All right, this show is about unity. But there is a lot of doms are like taxing MAGA people. So what's your opinion on taxing the fetish community? On, you know, basically charging them more because, like, basically charging them for their sexism and their homophobia and their anti-Semitism and stuff like that.
Political play has always been a thing in fetish, just because there is now a little bit more of a spotlight on it right now doesn't mean that it hasn't existed before. This type of shaming someone for their political affiliations has existed for a very long time.
Since they were politics.
Yeah. And so my stance on it is, if you're a consenting adult, right, and you want to pay for being humiliated for that, that's your prerogative. That's what you're going to do. If people feel like that's the reparations that they want for enduring, you know, policies that harm them and their communities and their families, that's their prerogative. I'm not gonna say it's a bad thing. I'm not gonna say, you know, it's something that I personally do. My thing is like, what is your attitude around certain things? Like, what is your, you know, because I don't know, I've known people that are quite leftist, well, a lot of men who are quite leftist, who are still very misogynistic. And if you're going to act that way, you know, it's not because you're affiliated with your political party, but it's the ideas that you're holding on to that are fucking stupid, to be honest. So yeah, I'm probably going to charge you more if I deal with you at all. Most of the time, I'm not even going to deal with someone like that, because you don't deserve my time and my energy. You don't deserve to be around awesome feminine people if you're not going to support me in other ways. Yeah. Like, why would I give you my presence? And even if you're giving me money, money is money. That's one type of energy. I require a lot. I am a greasy bitch when it comes to energy. Give it all to me, or be mediocre somewhere else.
Speaking of energy, you love paranormal investigation.
Yes. I was a paranormal investigator for several years. I volunteered in the Shanghai tunnels underneath Portland with Michael, who was the historian who helped keep those tunnels intact, in fact. And he did a lot of research around it. He preserved the history, the dark history of our city in those tunnels. One of the only lasting opium dens exists because of those tunnels and Michael's work. The white slavers' cell is what it is called, is where they would abduct generally indigenous women and torment them psychologically, physically, in all sorts of really horrendous ways, in order to human traffic them. There were holding cells for a lot of migrant workers that were loggers, and indigenous men, people like that would, you know, they'd be out in the woods for 6 months a year. They get paid once a year. They'd come into the city. What's the first thing they do? They're going to the bar and they're trying to get laid. So they go into the bar. The bartender is in on with these ship captains that need a crew, but you don't want to pay people a lot to be your crew. So maybe you slip the bartender a little bit of money, that bartender slips them a little bit of opium, and then they drag you out into an alley and take you underground, put you in these holding cells. They steal your shoes. They have broken glass along the planks and everywhere else. So even if you get out of there, they're going to follow the trails of red liquid to find you and then bring you back. And that's if you survive the opium overdoses that often happened. And so I went down there, and because I am particularly sensitive to just energies, I guess, they would send me in there alone, and they would be like, is this paranormal? Is this some like weird, electrical thing going on? And then we'd also just as a group too, go in there with tools and readings and things. And my thinking at the time was not, I believe that this is real. I believe that this is a definite thing. My thing was actually, I'm going to try and disprove everybody here that believes that paranormal entities and all these things exist. I'm going in there as a complete skeptic.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm not a skeptic anymore, but
really, I want to.
I just think the universe is too big for us to like put definites on most things, and especially having a physics degree, I'm absolutely like, we don't know anything about how this shit works.
You have a degree in physics?
I do. I studied for. I got a degree in physics, and then I was going to try and get a degree in astrophysics, and that's where my name actually comes from. Nova Starlust. Yeah.
Nova Starlust. I always think that I took physics as well. I was going to be a pharmacist, so I had to take physics, organic chemistry, calculus, differential equations, all stuff. But just the thing about physics, not only can you use it with everything, but because it is the science of everything, really.
Yep.
But the law, what's it? The second law of thermodynamics, which is chaos is always increasing, correct? Unless opposed by equal or greater force, correct, or something like that. But basically, it's chaos. It's chaos is always increasing, and I find comfort in that law for some reason. Because like when things go out of control, it's like, oh, that's the way. It's physics. That's nature.
Yeah, pretty much.
Trying to look.
Also, we have such a limited scope as well.
Yes.
That things that seem chaotic to us might just be, in a larger sense, things regulating themselves. Like we as people don't think about the cells in our body that are constantly fighting free radicals and all this stuff. That's a chaotic process. Right? Like fighting off bacterial infections, antihistamines, things like that. That's full on cellular war.
That's a war.
Yeah.
War is chaos.
And then, but it's keeping us healthy, right? So us outside of ourselves in a broader scope of the universe, like the things that we see as chaotic and out of control and all these things might be part of a bigger process that we are unaware of. I don't know.
So BDSM on a budget. How do people with little money get that fetish gear, get the toys? How can we still be kinky if you're poor?
So there are some really fun groups that you can join online where you can find gently used fetish wear for inexpensive. You can start a clothing swap in your local community and bring fun pieces that you can swap. You can make anything kinky, I swear. Like it's just about your imagination, right?
Yes.
You don't need a ton of money to be kinky. And I know a lot of people, they see, expensive toys, all these things. A lot of those things are built up over time, like investing in them. Not everybody's just going out and buying all this stuff all at once. Like it takes time to build up those collections. Yeah.
I think I just get a Symbian.
Yeah. It's, but yeah, you can connect with local people in your community, start a clothing swap, ask about, hey, does anybody have, things that they don't want anymore? And then I am a big fan of pervertibles. Finding things that aren't
Yes.
supposed to be kinky and turning them into kinky weird shit. That is my favorite.
What's a good pervertible in your mind? What's the first pervertible that comes to your head?
Ooh.
They should have phrased it like that.
I'm like, because the first thing I think is I'm like, melon ballers. No, I will not elaborate. I mean, yardsticks, like those paintster sticks you can use as impact implements, like meat tenderizers in your kitchen. A lot of kitchen supplies, to be honest, like for impact, most definitely.
We're putting together a dominatrix cooking show. Stay tuned for that.
Nice. I was a pastry chef, you know.
Let's do. Oh, you'll be our guest. Nico.
I'm just saying. Put me on it.
We'll start a femdom restaurant. Yeah. You'll be the pastry chef for our femdom restaurant. What should our femdom restaurant be called?
Ooh, that's a good question. Shut the fuck up and eat this.
Yeah. Shut the fuck up. It's like, okay, you walk in, right? And are the hosts is what kind of host would it be? Would it be a gimp? No. Would it be a sissy? Would it be a
Okay, I'm a big fan of having like a little gimp, like a little latex gimp or something, to be like the person that seats people and gives them menus, and then having the sissies, and then having the sissies be more like the wait staff, right? Because then you have to practice walking on your heels. You have to practice your like posture, your mannerisms, and things like that. But you're still like, serving, and you get to wear cute meat off of. What's that?
What would they serve at the femdom restaurant?
Ooh, that's a good question. I do know if you have an alcohol list, though, there is a company that will take your vaginal bacteria and brew them into beers or wines.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that would be really fun. Let's see. I mean, I feel like there has to be. I'm thinking on the pastry side, chef side of things. I'm like, there has to be cake that someone sits on, and then you have to like eat it off of their ass for an upcharge.
Yeah. What would be like the signature dish? Or the signature drink. Signature drink. Cum ice cubes.
I do like that. No, I feel like there has to be a charcuterie board that has like the little cum dip in the middle. That I feel like is
Cum dip.
The little cum dip in the middle for your charcuterie. Just
Every time like the health inspector comes, they always pass.
Yes.
Just leave it at that.
As for signature drink, I feel like it's going to be called water sports. It's
yeah. Okay. Shut the fuck up and eat this. That's a great day. We have some one, Rosalie, do you like objectification? And what's your favorite object to make someone?
Oh, okay. So I love objectification in that I enjoy objectifying someone in this, like, how do I explain this? Like, come on, brain meats. Where someone feels objectified as a person still, and then turning someone into an object, right? Both very different things. I enjoy turning someone into an object that is a doll. That is my favorite ever, because they don't have their autonomy in that situation. I have to pose them. I have to dress them how I want to. I brush their hair. I pose them. I get them into situations I want them to. I play with them how I want to, but they're still an object, right? If we're talking about like, what most people think of, furniture, things like that, I am still waiting for my gaming chair to come around. I want my gaming chair that pleasures me as I play Baldur's Gate 3. And then
now, what would it be like I mean, obviously there'd be something for the clit, but would there be something for the vaginal and anal for your chair as well? You're talking about like a full-on sex chair, or just a comfortable chair to sit in?
I'm talking about more like okay, so here's my little gaming chair, right? And then I could just like hook someone up to the front of it so their arms are chained to like the fronts here, and they're in front of me, and then I have like a little leg rest that I can put my legs up on while I game, and then their head is just kind of in a good position.
Okay, we're winding it down, but
yeah.
I asked this to everybody. Okay. Let's say you have unlimited resources, unlimited finances. Kinky people, the kink community, we're all dreamers. We dream. Our imagination is unlimited. So let's dream. You have unlimited resources, unlimited finances. Anyone you want is at your disposal, living or dead. You can do anything you want, anywhere you want. What is your ultimate kink?
I want to role play Alien, the alien queen on a space station. I want it to be on an actual space station though, so I can turn off gravity. I can really mess with people's senses in that way, but hunt them down. Like, I don't know if you've ever played the game Alien Isolation, but very much that.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Stan Vladimir. He loves the whole Alien franchise. I'm sure
I do
very
too.
fun to hear.
So good,
and he just said, "I love how you are very kinky geeky at the same time."
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Like I said, we're winding it down. Word association game. All right. I'm going to say a word. Okay. You say the first word that pops into your first word or phrase that pops into your head. Okay.
I'll try to make it PG-13.
If I say chastity, you can say it's just this goes on Spotify. It's fine.
Okay.
Right? You can curse. I don't know what's coming out of this jar. All right. I'm going to say something. If I say chastity, you can say lock. But let's say you're thinking about, I don't know, donuts. You can say glazed donut, you know? All right. Ready to go? Okay. Chastity.
Oh, dicklet.
All right. I think I got some here. Thigh highs.
Oh, thick, juicy.
Fire play.
Ooh, searing flesh. Yummy smells.
Play.
Screams.
Face slapping.
Spit.
Consensual, non-consensual.
The best.
Race play.
Hard limit.
Splashing.
Butts.
Mummification.
Helplessness.
Locking collars.
Ooh. Keith. I was like,
vibrating butt plugs.
Humiliation.
Okay. Nova, not everyone is as beautiful or as talented as you, but they're still kinky. How can kinky people make money?
Ooh, find the needs in your community. You can open a community space. You can make kinky toys and pervertibles for people. You can make fetish wear for people that may be on a budget. You know, there's all sorts of materials that you can use that aren't just latex and leather that are still really hot. I mean, I feel like those are like the really big things that you can do. Like, what are the needs? Where do you see the need? Right? Because looking at it from a business perspective, right? If you're just following a trend or doing what everyone else is going to do, you're going to have a tough time. Find out what people need and fill the need.
And finally, we're all looking for something. Where do you want your kinky path to take you next?
I'm looking forward to divulging, or I'm looking forward to doing more education, teaching more classes, possibly writing now. I think you've inspired me to get into that project. I've been thinking about it for a little bit now. And Yeah,
we need
traveling
now
more.
more than ever. We need stories told, true stories, real stories told. And how can people get in touch with you, support your work, support writing, support you, go to your classes, read your blog, promote yourself?
Oh, definitely. I have a website. It's novastarlust.com. You can find my blog there. You can find information on if you would like to have some coaching one-on-one classes with me. I have to be careful about certain things and how I say that. I do offer coaching to couples and friends and things as well, if you want no DS dynamic included in that. And then I post like my schedules for my classes on my social media platforms. I will try to, I try to put it in my Discord and on my website as well. And then, yeah, if you want to look at some of my content that I make, if you are over the age of 18 or respective age in your district, demonessnova.com has links to all of my content stores on there and fan pages. So you can find my work there.
All right. Thank you. No, seriously, this is so inspiring. I was down. I'm not going to talk about politics or anything like that, but it's a bummer. Everything is there's a negative cloud going around. It depends, doesn't matter what side you're on either. It's just there. And you know it. And sexual expression and being kinky and being ourselves, doing something positive is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Thank you, Nova.
Yeah.
For being yourself, for being fucking cool, for being sexy, for being kinky, for being creative and bringing some intellectualism to the kink community. Everybody, please support kinky. Support kink helps kink. We need each other more than ever these days. Please. And you know what? Let the kink on. Seriously.
Absolutely.
Look through history. We've been kinking throughout the beginning of times in fascist cultures, dictators. There's always been people getting down. And we are the sons, the daughters, the wives, the husbands, right? We're the cops. We're the judges, the lawyers, the teachers. We're the people who fill your tank. We're the people who control your money. We're everywhere.
Yeah.
We have one life to live. Let's make it a good one. Everybody, go to yourkinkyfriends.com. Buy a book. Read a book. They're great.
Yes.
The way to kill yourself.
I
friends.
Feel like zines and printed media are going to be a major source for spreading information in the coming years. So definitely get your hands on some. I also want to say thank you so much for having me on here. And I know a lot of people are feeling uncertain and all this stuff. Like, I feel like there are people profiting off of a lot of people's fear and everything right now, which is really unfortunate. But you get to choose if you want to be happy, if you want to, if you want to express yourself, you get to choose. That's not something other people get to choose for you. You get to choose to be who you want to be, and in the ways that you get to be that, as long as you are safe. Find community, make your community, get to know people around you and love them, and understand, like, we're all nuanced, we're all humans, we're all just trying to figure out ourselves. And this is one of the funnest ways to do it.
Definitely. I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you. Thanks you so much. Please buy books, read books, support the kink community. Support the kink community. Support the arts of the kink community. Support the creativity and the whimsical nature of it. You're alive. You're alive, and it's beautiful. Be thankful for it. It's going to be a great week. Be cool. Be kind. Keep an open mind. Take care.
Thank you.